Terrorism, Al-Qaeda by Justin and Ray.
Put simply, what is Al Qaeda? Al Qaeda is an Islamic militant terrorist organization that was founded in the early 1980s. Their name translates to the foundation in English. This terrorist group has strong political and religious beliefs, with violent jihad and theological martyrdom being the crux of their ideology. Al Qaeda are based all around the Muslim world, mainly in the Middle East, and are best known for their radical views and infamous acts of terror against the innocent.
The Jihad flag. Al-Qaeda is represented by a black flag embellished stylistically with the white calligraphic text of the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. The flag is a symbol of jihad, the decree to strive for God's will and to preach the Muslim teachings.
Al Qaeda was founded by Osama bin Laden in the 1980s to support the Islamics during the Soviet Afghan War. The organization gained traction after the Soviets were pushed out of Afghanistan, resulting in the Muslim victory and subsequently giving rise to the Jihad movement for holy war. The soldiers who fought in the Afghan war, the Mujahideen fighters, began traveling all around North Africa and the Middle East to preach and spread their experience and desires for jihad war. This jihad caused Al Qaeda to focus its antagonism towards the United States and its allies.
Current and past leaders. There have been three main leaders of Al-Qaeda as of 2024. The first was the original founder, Osama bin Laden, who ran Al-Qaeda from its inception in 1980 to his death in 2011. After masterminding the largest terrorist attack in history on the US, bin Laden went into hiding after 2001. This sparked a large conflict called the Afghanistan War, otherwise known as the War on Terror, which is still ongoing. After, After a decade of searching for Osama, the US eventually managed to topple the Taliban, the government who was sheltering bin Laden. They tracked Osama's location to a compound in Pakistan, where he was shot dead on sight by a team of 6 Navy SEALs. His body was thrown into the Arabian Sea to avoid his burial site becoming an important symbol to any jihadist followers.
After bin Laden's death, he was replaced with his second emir, Ayman al-Zawahiri. He became the leader and one of the most important ideologues of Al-Qaeda from 2011 to 2022. Born and raised in Egypt, Zawahiri had always had radical views, assembling a team of followers to overthrow the Egyptian government in favor of Islamic rule when he was just 15 years old. He later studied at the University of Cairo, specializing in surgery but continuing his secretive activities. His death in 2021 was a result of a US drone strike after learning of his residence in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan.
Now in 2024, Saif al-Adel is believed to be the de facto leader of Al-Qaeda. His status is unknown, but his residence is said to be in Iran.
Al-Qaeda has many branches and other organizations that associate with them. The main three branches of Al-Qaeda include AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQIM, Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb, and AQP, Al-Qaeda in Iraq. These groups aim to topple or corrupt the governments of other nations.
Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula was formed in 2009, mainly based in Yemen, which is south of the Arabian Peninsula. The Saudi Arabia and Yemen branches of al-Qaeda merged after Riyadh's counter-terrorism efforts to drive al-Qaeda members to South Yemen. Al-Qaeda in the lands of Islamic Maghreb have been allied to al-Qaeda since late 2006 and have simplified its name to Aqim, in 2007. Their main aim is to overthrow the Algerian government in favor of instituting an Islamic State.
Al-Qama al-Islamiyah, another Islamic Jihad group, is led by Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, and they are also tied with Al-Qaeda. Rahman was an Egyptian militant who was blind, leading to the US to refer to him as the Blind Sheikh. He served a life sentence in a North Carolina prison, where he died in 2017.
There are a number of jihad groups spread through the Middle East and in the Philippines which affiliate with al-Qaeda. All these groups come together to plot attacks against the West.
Al-Qaeda and other similar Islamic terrorist organizations say Allahu Akbar, which means God is the greatest or God is greater, when they carry out attacks such as suicide, bombings, or kamikazes. This phrase, however, is misused and misunderstood. The phrase was originally an exclamation of triumph. People would say it in weddings and on special occasions to celebrate. Radical Islamic beliefs have corrupted the phrase. Aslam Abdullah says the terrorists are hijacking this term. They're hijacking religion. They're hijacking God. Al-Qaeda's mission. In 1998, Osama bin Laden issued a fatwa, which was a declaration of jihad war against Christians, Jews, Crusaders, and the USA as a whole. This was done as they believed that Western Christianity and Judaism were a worldwide conspiracy to eliminate the Islamic faith.
Al-Qaeda regards the US as an infidel state, which means they have no religion. Their primary goal is to drive the US out of the Arabian Peninsula and Somalia. Al-Qaeda violently loathes the United States for several reasons. They oppose the US in the Gulf War and were against the continued presence of the Americans in Saudi Arabia. Furthermore, al-Qaeda despises the United States government because of the arrests, convictions, and imprisonments of al-Qaeda members and its affiliates. This included the conviction of Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, who was convicted by the United States government in the first bombing of the World Trade Center.
After declaring the fatwa in 1998, Al-Qaeda launched their first attack on the US, blowing up American embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, killing roughly 230 people. In 2000, the group sank a US Navy destroyer, the USS Cole, off the coast of Yemen. The attack was carried out when two suicide bombers approached the port side of the Cole in a small boat filled with over 450 kilos worth of C4 explosives, detonating the charges and blowing a 12 by 18-meter gash in the ship's hull, which killed 17 crewmates and left 34 injured.
The September 11 attacks in 2001 were one of the most significant terrorist attacks in history. On the 11th of September 2001, at around 9 a.m., 2 out of 4 Boeing 767 planes flew into the World Trade Center skyscrapers. The third plane crashed into the Pentagon, the head of the U.S. Department of Defense, soon after the towers. The fourth plane crashed in an open field which was headed for the federal government building, killing everybody aboard on the plane. The September 11 attacks on the US redefined international security threats. These series of attacks changed the view of terrorism and sparked a long war in the Middle East. Overall, al-Qaeda is a very influential and powerful organization, being able to carry out heinous attacks such as 9/11, the most significant terrorist attack in history. They also have multiple they also have monopolies in different industries, generating constant streams of revenue through multiple sources. These sources include contributions and donations from supporters, criminal activities such as drug trafficking, extortion, kidnapping, illicit taxation of smuggled goods, and legal investments, not to mention their immense influence over multiple nation governments.
Al-Qaeda is without a doubt one of, if not the most recognizable and infamous terrorist organization.